He's gone from actor and stand-up comic to radio and TV host, and from cancer patient to spiritual guide and podcaster. Ralph Benmergui's incredible journey is detailed in the new book, I Thought He Was Dead, a spiritual memoir, and he joins me now on the City News Book Show. Welcome to you, Ralph.
Welcome to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay. All right. I'm sure you get this a lot, but I Thought He Was Dead seems like a dark choice for a title. Can you talk about what inspired that choice?
Well, having had a public life for a long time, in the last 10 years or so, I really went into work that was more about helping other people to communicate and advising people and out of the public eye. So if I was at some party before COVID, when we actually went to parties, I would be sitting there and someone would say, well, this is Ralph Benmergui. And there'd be a look on the person's face as they looked at me. And I could tell they were thinking, I thought he was dead. And I realized that I do that. Mort Saul, the comedian, just died. He was 91 years old. He was a 1960s icon and 70s icon. And when I heard he died, I literally said to my wife, I thought he was dead. Oh, there you go. So that's really the genesis of that.
Is that kind of a comment on like the transitory nature of fame?
Well, yeah, I mean, don't attach yourself too much to whatever persona publicly that you can get. My sister-in-law just gave me a bunch of clippings she had been collecting over the years that I didn't know she was collecting. And so I kind of peeked at a few. And, one of them would be, how great Ralph Benmergui is. And then the next one would be, what a horrible person Ralph Benmergui is. And I just thought, just don't attach yourself to stuff like that in life. It's really not what can sustain you, because then you're relying on other people to decide whether you're good or bad or doing a good job. Be honest with yourself when you're not doing things well, but really keep your center and try to become yourself as much as possible, which as a spiritual memoir, that was the job I was trying to do in this book, is to say, we should evolve spiritually as people and really find deeper meaning than just the thing we do today, right?
We're more than what we do, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not easy. It's easier to just pretend we are what we do.
Now, you've had such a varied career in media. My best memory of you is when you hosted the Friday night program on the CBC. It was right around the time Brian Mulroney stepped down as prime minister. You led a big song and dance number called Hes Gone, which was as good as any Saturday Night Live cold open at the time. So I was delighted to see you refer to it in the book. What was it like being in that kind of spotlight?
It was the kind of thing where you think, this is what I want. I want to rise to the top of the mountain. And then when you get to the top of the mountain, you think, not much of a view up here. I'm not really enjoying this that much. I think I had too much pressure. I learned a very good lesson about being Canadian. And that was, and I don't mean this in any way as a pejorative, that what we appreciate in terms of how we see ourselves is a low status idea. The guy before me was Tommy Hunter, and the person they put on after me was Rita McNeil. It was just, humble, quiet, down home folks. And I was the guy with the strange Moroccan Jewish name from Toronto who thought, he was really something. And it was what people didn't want. If you go to LA and do that as a Canadian, then they'll love you for it. Jim Carrey and Howie and all those guys, like they love that. But if you stay here, we like to defer. We're not, we don't put our hands over our heart and take our hats off and sing the national anthem. We don't even remember the second verse. They changed stuff, so it got confusing. So I learned that we should just, have that kind of deferring attitude towards things. It was a great opportunity, but I didn't actually ever feel in my skin while doing it. I love doing the Mulroney bit. That was like, okay, now we can do so. We have a national stage. Let's do this. We did the whole funeral and the wreath. It was great. We had a great time.
Of course, all this very different from what you're up to today. How did you make the transition from media and journalism to becoming an ordained spiritual director?
Well, that happened while I was moving. I moved out of being in the public. I was an advisor to the leader of the federal Green Party for a few years. And then I did jazz radio at the same time. But then I became an advisor to a president of a Sheridan College, a major college in Ontario, and did that for quite a while. And during that time, I'd always thought, should I become a rabbi? And then I thought, I don't know if I want to put 5 years into this. And my Hebrew's not that good. And, I don't really want to be a congregational kind of guy, which is why I now call my podcast Not That Kind of Rabbi, because I would not want to be that kind of rabbi. But instead, I found this path that I could take, this ordination program, to become a spiritual counselor. I was just actually on with somebody before this interview, and to help people to sort of get their spiritual center back again, or to find it really in some cases, but to help people with things that are not about getting the job done, getting this done. It's really about being and enjoying that experience, and really listening to people from my heart to their heart. And I love the work. It's great. It's one of the things I do. I still advise in politics. I still do different things, but it's one thing I do, and I really enjoy doing it. And it's helped me to nurture my own spiritual life.
What do you mean when you talk about aging and saging?
Well, I think that one of the last acceptable isms in our lives is ageism. Um, in the book, I talk about somebody who did a survey and a study. 5% of characters on radio or television are over 65. And the vast majority of the characterizations are incontinent, incompetent, cruel, inappropriate, perverted, decrepit. I mean, these horrible things, punchlines with, the inappropriate granny in the corner who says the things she should never have said. We don't think of ourselves as old and improved. It always has to be young and improved, new and improved, because we're commodities. So I don't want us to become seniors looking for discounts at the drug mart. I want us to become elders and cultivate our wisdom so that we can actually be useful to people in different ways in society, because we have lived a life. And you don't automatically become a sage. It's not like, oh, I'm 73, I must be a sage. I mean, there's lots of dumb older people and lots of dumb younger people. It's not how it works. But if you bother to be conscious about it and cultivate that, then you can be of real use. You can share your wisdom. You can mentor people. You're a younger guy. I'm an older guy. I was in broadcast. You're in broadcast. Imagine if we had an opportunity to every once in a while share, and you could say, I'm doing this, and what do you think of that? And it's not like me going, you know what, Sonny, I'll tell you how it should. It's just, I get to listen to you and go, so this is what you really want. Maybe you should think about this, but we don't do that. We all stay in our lane, in our own peer groups. And I think there is an important aspect of I'm doing a workshop on January 9th, a virtual workshop, a one-day retreat to just go, here's some tools to help you to start thinking about how to age into saging in life, as opposed to just being shunted to the side of the road. You don't want that. And that's look, this pandemic, it was obvious how we treated older people in the long-term care facilities. It's just put them in a warehouse and get them out of the way and let's get on with it. And that's not good enough.
Now, in the book, you do have a lot to say about aging, how Western culture tends to shun elderhood. What can we do about it? Is it as simple as you say, burning our bingo cards and staying engaged with others and ourselves?
Well, there's two aspects to it. It's how other people treat people who are older. That has to change. So that's a major cultural shift. But the other one is older people we live a lot longer. I don't want to play golf. I don't like golf. That's not what I was looking forward to. Is that, oh yeah, now I get to play golf. No, I'm not interested. But I think we have to stop being embarrassed about what our age is. Say it out loud. Like today, this is my birthday. I'm 66 years old. So good, great. If you ask somebody what their age is at a dinner party, they would think, that's none of your business, because we're embarrassed about it. So we have to lose our shame, and we have to celebrate the fact that, hey man, I made it this far, not bad. And really start elbowing our way into society to say, no, we're still here and we still have a voice. If we just ask politely, it's not going to happen. Has to be some activism around it.
Well, happy birthday, first of all.
Thank you.
And second, last question, what do you hope the reader takes away from this book ultimately?
Well, I'm finding that people are taking different things based on where they're coming from. Some people find the parts about culture and Canadiana interesting. But mostly, I think what I would really like people to do is to start seeing their spiritual life as an important part of life. I'm not talking about religious life. I'm talking about spiritual life, to be able to know that the relationship you have with yourself, with other people, and with this whole creation is really important. And we are at a point, and you would know this in British Columbia more than most at this point, where the earth is literally crying and we are ignoring it. And that's a spiritual question, a spiritual crisis, because if we're going to actually attack the cradle that keeps us alive, then we've lost our spiritual center. And all that we're doing is clinging to material life. And it isn't working. Ask the people in Abbotsford. It's not working. And we have to decide together that there is something greater at play than just, you know, inflated food prices. Yes, they're important, no doubt. But let's take a breath. If we had gardens in every community in British Columbia growing food, you wouldn't even be paying to go to the grocery store for 3/4 of what you're literally buying, putting in a cart, and having rot in your fridge. So really, we've got to come together as people and stop being individuals and start being a collective that has a common good. And it used to be that religion was how we created community. We have to recreate community now in different ways.
You talk about this notion of people walking each other home, and I think that's a really great way of putting it.
Yeah, I truly believe that. Just talking to somebody whose mother is 91, and she was very sad about it. And I said, you're there for her. You're literally walking her home. Like, just walk her home. That's all we can do with each other. We're not in this alone. And the sooner we realize that, the more we can do to help each other live a better life, I think.
That's a fine place to leave it. The name of the book is I Thought He Was Dead, a spiritual memoir. My thanks again to author Ralph Benmergui.